Here's something most career advice gets wrong. They start with the resume, the LinkedIn profile, the interview tips, but none of that matters if your head isn't right.
That's right. You can have the perfect resume and still not apply because if you're afraid of rejection, if you have something going on in your head that you are not sure of yourself, that's going to stop you at the door every time.
So today, that's what we're going to talk about. We have to talk about what comes first, before the tactics or the tools. Starts with mindset.
That's right. Welcome to Building Your Career Blueprint.
I'm Chris Dotson.
And I'm Tom Borg.
Welcome back to Your Career Blueprint, the podcast for college students and recent grads who want to launch their careers with intention, confidence, and a real plan. Last episode, we unpacked the career launch gap, why so many graduates aren't ready for the real world, and why the job market is tougher than ever. If you missed it, go back and listen. The data is eye-opening.
Yep. So today we're going to go deeper because we're going to teach you how to search for jobs, network, and negotiate salary. However, you can do all of that and still come up short because what's going on in your head, what's going on between your two ears could be sabotaging your efforts.
That's right, Tom. We think about it a lot, but that mindset, that brain of yours, it's wired to keep you safe. And sometimes that means it's going to keep you in your comfort zone and it's going to keep you in a state of fear. So this is why we have to start and think about mindset before method. And we're going to introduce a framework we use in our Career Blueprint program, which is stumbling blocks and stepping stones.
Ah, outstanding. So, Chris, let's start here. Why does mindset matter so much in the job search?
I think one of the things we overlooked oftentimes in the job search is it's not just a logical process, but an emotional one as well too. You can know exactly what to do. You can have your checklist. You can apply to 10 jobs a day. You can follow up within 48 hours. You can customize every cover letter. All of these things are important, by the way. But because you're battling fear, self-doubt, or even procrastination, you might not do it. Or you'll do it halfway. Or you'll quit after the first rejection.
Yeah, I've seen this for over 25 years. The people who succeed are not the smartest people. They don't have the highest IQ, but the ones that do succeed seem to be the ones that show up consistently. They go the extra mile. They're not afraid of rejection.
Yep. And the data is really clear, Tom. We talked about this a little bit in student one, but 87% of students saying they feel ready for the workforce, but 80% of hiring managers say they don't think that they are. It's not just a skills gap, it's an awareness gap. Students don't know what they don't know. And part of what they don't know is how their mindset is helping or hindering them.
That's right. So before we hand someone a resume or help them work on that resume, we got to take a look. What's going on in your head? What's holding you back? What are some things that can help you move forward? That's what we're all about.
Yep. And this is where that stumbling blocks and stepping stones mindset comes in. So
Mm-hmm.
here's how we think about it. Your career success isn't just shaped by your skills and experience. It's shaped by how you think. Stumbling blocks are those beliefs, attitudes, or habits that slow down or limit your confidence. The stepping stones are the positive mindsets that help you take action, learn, and persist. I just want to double click on that. Take action. Sometimes we just have this inaction that happens that it really can affect our mindset. So by taking that next step, we can really start to shift our mindset to a more positive one.
Uh,
Everyone has both these stumbling blocks and stepping stones, though, Tom, and we've seen it both. We each experience this on a regular basis, daily even. But the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to become aware of what those stumbling blocks are and make sure that they're not running the show. It's to
mm-hmm.
strengthen the stepping stones so you can keep moving forward.
Right. No, and let's be clear on this. Where did these stumbling blocks come from? These self-doubts? Well, it comes from just living life. You know, you grow up as a child, you've got certain things you experience that teach you a certain mindset. You get told no too often, or if you've tried a few things, you've failed. These are things that get programmed in pretty early on. And we're not psychologists, but what we can do is help you identify some of the areas that may be holding you back, some self-limiting beliefs that could be preventing you from really tapping your full potential. And that's what we want to dive into today. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I love that. The self-limiting beliefs. And sometimes, like you said, these things are programmed at a very early age, even from childhood, based on experience. And some of it is based
Mhm.
on our core personality as well, too, which is some things we really dig into. Like, let's really get to know who you are at your core and what some of these filters you're experiencing the world through. So really, it is really about that awareness being the first step towards growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let's think about this. And when you think about success, you think about moving forward. it's normal and natural to fail from time to time. Rejection is part of your approach to succeeding. So if we can help toughen up your mindset to help you think a little bit more clearly about you're going to try so many times, you're going to fail so many times, but you know what? If you succeed one time more than you fail, you're making progress.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. And the thing about it is like, do we think about failures as failures or learning opportunities, and
That's right.
reframing that as well too? It's that'll be one of the things we get into today is that importance of growth mindset. But let's talk about the six pieces that really can come up, these stumbling blocks that can get in our way.
Okay.
The first of these is that fear of rejection, and so
Hmm.
this is one of the big ones here. It's a fear that you apply, you don't get the job. It says something about your overall worth as a human being, so you don't apply, or you apply only to safe options, or you never follow up because you don't want to hear no.
Hmm. Yeah, and the interesting thing about it is rejection or the word no, it's part of the process. And if you think about it in that from that perspective, it becomes more like a strategy or a game. Okay, I'm going to challenge the no's that I run into, and I'm going to work to get around them, get over them, get underneath them. I'm going to figure out a way to get to my goal. So right off the bat, go ahead, Chris.
Absolutely. That rejection is it's just data. And also it's practice.
Hmm.
I like to equate it a lot of times to Steph Curry. I'm a big basketball fan. He didn't get the world's best jump shot by going and taking three jump shots and then saying, oh, well, you're right. He would have just given up. He probably missed two of the first three. Maybe it's all the first three. I don't know.
Hmm.
You'd have to ask his dad when he first got a hoop when he was just a little boy. But
Yeah.
uh, but in any case, we have to think about these as opportunities. These are reps that we are getting in, and the more reps you get, the more refined you get, the better you get at it. But let's look
Hmm.
at the second one: self-doubt and imposter syndrome. This
Hmm.
sounds something like I'm not qualified enough. They'll figure out I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I to even think about applying for that? This imposter syndrome is real. And the interesting thing about the data is it's actually really common with high achievers. But it
Hmm.
can be
Oh, yeah.
paralyzing, if you let it be. If you let it be.
Chris, you're right on the mark with that. And we know there's some very successful, famous people in the actors, musicians, you name it. They're out. They have, and they admit freely, they have this self-doubt. They have these feelings of fear, this nervousness before they go on to perform. However, they've learned how to get through that. That's really the key. You might have the fear, you might have the aversion, but you have that extra something inside you that you just go one step further. You keep moving. That's very important. And that's one of the things we want to help you learn and understand that's something you can learn how to do. And that's something you can put into your toolbox of success strategies.
Yeah. Tom, tell us about procrastination. This is our third one.
Yes. So procrastination. You ever heard the saying, I'm just getting ready to get ready? That's a great definition for procrastination. So what happens? Well, you got to get off the first. You can't get to second base if you leave one foot on first, right? So the key is you got to be able to understand what your goal is, and then you need to start taking one step at a time. But first, you've got to understand what's that first step. How are you going to do it? What's the plan if you don't succeed on that at that first step? Do we need to be able to persist to keep moving? So procrastination, that can be a real stopper, and it's a big stopper for a lot of
Mhm.
young people just because how many times have they gone from college to career? They haven't. This is the first time for them, right? This is the
Mhm.
first rodeo. And the idea is procrastination can be a very sinister presence unless you come up with the right mindset to get past it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think this is something that, again, a lot of us can fall into. Like sometimes when I'm procrastinating something I know I need to do, but it's like it's a little uncomfortable or outside of my comfort zone. It's like all of a sudden I find myself like inventing things to do, like cleaning the house and
Mm-hmm.
doing yard work or doing just about anything,
Yeah.
And
Mm.
sometimes you gotta face it and recognize, all right, I'm in one of these patterns of procrastination. But again, it comes back to that awareness piece and knowing that this is a trigger and this is something that you might launch into that signifies that you're in a procrastination period.
Yeah. So, Chris, let's talk about the next one, comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah, yeah. There's this old saying: comparison is the thief of joy.
Hmm.
And it's an interesting thing to think about. And sometimes we have these social media pieces, and we're seeing other people's highlight reels. Somebody may have posted about this new job that they got and how excited they are for it, and they're starting their first job at the dream company. It's like, it hasn't happened for me yet, and all of a sudden you feel behind. You feel like you're failing. But sometimes it's a trap. Everybody is on their own path. This is your life to live. This is your career to grow. And what you
Hmm.
see online isn't always a real full story. There's a lot of failures that are often going in behind what's happening before you see it behind what's happening before you see it. You just see the end result of it. The years and years sometimes it takes to build a great career or even launch the career, the reps that are getting into it, they're not always hidden and in plain sight because we don't see the struggles that are going on behind the scenes. So just kind of thinking back and stepping back and saying, what, I don't need to compare myself to others is
Yeah,
really, really powerful. I'm in the moment and I am building who I want to be. And I don't need to be anybody else. I don't need to be Tom Borg. I need to be Chris Dotson and be happy with who I am.
that's right. Well, to add to what you just said there, Chris, it is easy to just think that when you see someone successful, they just got hired at a great company that you wanted to be at, that it was just an easy path for them. But no, there was a lot of rejection. There were things that went wrong in the process, and they finally got to that point. But you ask anybody that's been successful, read their biography, they have a laundry list of failure that preceded their success. So that's how it works. Now, we're not saying that you have to expect doom and gloom when you're out there trying to create this career for yourself, launch this career, but
Mhm.
be aware, be realistic that there are things that are going to happen, and just prepare yourself. And that's what we're about. We're helping you prepare yourself, get that mindset in the right place so that you're able to move forward and create the kind of future you really want.
All said. You really want
Yeah.
exactly, and I think it's helping get crystallized on what that North Star is and what's important to you that you're building for this career. It doesn't mean you can't adjust that along the way, but that's something we also see as really, really important. Is you're building a successful career that you can be proud of when you hang it all up, down the line with a career and a life well lived. It's like, are we intentional about building what we want, not what others want, or
Yeah.
what social media is telling us we want, or the news is telling us what we want, but we get really clear on what's important to us because we can really fall into a trap of what I call like the societal supposed tos. These
Hmm.
things that we are told by society and reinforced by marketers of why we need to feel a certain way about ourselves so we buy more things. It's just not a healthy way to think through it and to live it. So helping to get really clear on what your purpose is, your values, the life that you want to build
Yeah.
is a really, really important antidote for falling into some of these cycles that aren't serving us.
Kristen, to add to that, we will be talking more about that topic in the future, but you're right on the money with this. What's your purpose in life? Most people have not even thought past getting out of bed tomorrow morning, let alone what their purpose is once they do get up. So you need to understand, what your values are, where you're going, what would be an ideal place for you to work where you could express your true self, where you could really feel good about getting in there and just letting your talents shine, but doing the things that you believe in. We'll talk more about that in a future podcast, but that's definitely something you want to get clear on in terms of getting that career launched in the right direction, is knowing yourself better, knowing your values, and knowing, being able to recognize it when you see it in a position that could be there waiting for you. Let's move on to this next one. Waiting to feel ready. Now, we kind of alluded to this a moment ago, but it's so true. It's so easy to just kind of hesitate, wait for the right moment, wait for the right networking opportunity, or maybe wait for the right job listing. But that's not the place to live. Okay. You've got to understand that in order to get ahead, you got to move ahead. And waiting to feel ready, you're going to need to just take that first step and then take the second and just keep moving, because that's what's going to get you there. Chris.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said, Tom. And it's one of these things where, again, the only way to expand the comfort zone is to step outside of it. And if we're never
Hmm.
stepping outside of it and growing, we're going to be, in a
That's right.
very small box. It's not going to be
Yeah.
a very big container that we can grow and stretch within. So it is about, again, just trying new things, not
Hmm.
waiting to feel ready. It's such a powerful one, and
Yeah.
not expecting that you're going to know everything. Some people, and this is one of the places where there is a gender difference, especially with females that we see. We wait Females wait more so to apply for a job if they don't think they check everything on the job description. A little
Okay.
less true it turns out for the male population, but there are still, segments of male population that still fall into this as well too. Don't wait to feel like you know absolutely everything. There are things that we will work through with you and that you can learn that can help set you up as that career lifelong learner. If
Mhm.
you have those, in your back pocket as a skill set and a mindset, you can come across as, I know I'm not a finished product. And guess what? As a hiring manager, is exactly what they want to hear. I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I'm here to stretch. The person you hire on day one is not the person I'm going to be at day 60 or day 6 months or 3 years down the road, because I'm going to continue to show up every day and I'm going to continue to get better. And I'm telling you, you come in with that type of mindset, that type of energy, and that type of conviction, you're going to wow some people in that interview. I've hired a lot of people in my career, and that's the type of energy that I am looking for just about every time. I don't want to hire a finished product. I want to hire somebody who wants to grow along with our organization.
That's right. We're talking about an attitude, right? A mindset, your attitude.
Mm.
That's what people are hiring. They're hiring your attitude. They're hiring that mindset. And that comes by being realistic. That comes by being just who you really are and realizing that in order to grow, you need to make that investment in yourself to just read those books, listen to those audios, do whatever it is that's going to help you get ahead because that's what people are buying. They're buying your willingness to grow. Comes down to it when you think about that. When you get hired by an organization, they're looking for somebody that can grow with the company.
Beautifully said. So our last one we're going to cover here is not knowing what you want. So
Mm-hmm.
some students may feel stuck because they don't have clarity on their direction. So they don't do anything. They wait for certainty before they move. But clarity often only comes through exploration, through trying things, talking to people, learning what fits. You don't have it all figured out when you get started. Like I'm well into my career, and at times I'm still figuring things out as well too.
Sure.
There's this great book by David Epstein. It's called Range, and it's why generalists thrive in a specialized world. And really, the preface of it is try a bunch of different things.
Hmm.
And that's what a lot of I think about in your 20s. You should be doing. Try new
Mhm.
things out, experiment, find what you want to do. You don't have to have it all figured out and know exactly what you want to do when you're 24. I would even
Mhm.
go as far as to say a lot of folks who have that. I mean, every once in a while you find somebody who's like, yep, they had that clarity and they just know it. I tend to find that they put on a little bit of a guise that, yep, I have figured out I'm making a good money, I'm making a good living. And then they get stuck in the sunk cost fallacy. They just stick with something longer than maybe they should have. And they fall away from what ended up being what would have been a more passion project for them. But that would have helped them to thrive in their career. But what we often find is people who are thriving and have lived a successful life and have more career earnings, they continue to evolve. They
Yeah.
continue to grow and they continue to discover and hone in on what they're passionate about. So they generalize and try a bunch of things early on, and then they specialize as they get more clarity, as they experiment with things. The one other quote that comes to mind from somebody I really like named Marcus Buckingham, who's a wonderful person in the strengths community. He talks about a career is not being a ladder or a lattice, but a scavenger hunt for the things that we love.
Hmm.
And so when we think about that, it's like we're trying to look. It's like we're taking on new data. We're discovering new things all the time and paying attention to, hey, what brings me energy? What was really
Mhm.
exciting about? Why did I get so excited about working on this specific part of the work? What was it about the work
Hmm.
that got me excited? So you don't necessarily have to have it all figured out, whatever your degree might be. You've put some chips into the center of the table to start to push towards a potential path, and maybe it's a version of that path. But
Mhm.
you're a business student, lots of different ways you can impact business. Even within like a slice of it, you could be in HR. Well, there's lots of different roles even within HR, that you can potentially do depending on where you get more of your energy from. But the more you kind of experiment and try new things, the better it's going to be. And we can take that same type of mindset and attitude and behavior towards the job search as well too. We can give you a bunch of tools and tips on how we can start to build this proper methodology for how to approach it, but you can continue to refine and find what works well for you
Yeah.
throughout the process.
Yeah, Kristen, I think that takes us to our next part of our podcast, and that is we want to talk about what are the stepping stones that are gonna move us forward. Okay, we've talked about the stumbling blocks. How about the stepping stones that are gonna move us forward?
Yeah, great. And let's focus on, kind of six. And some of these are antidotes for some of these stumbling blocks that
Hmm.
that get in our way here. And
Okay.
the first one here is willingness to learn. So the job search, just like anything else, it's a learning process. Think about it as you're starting a new semester, and the new semester's work is finding that job.
Mm.
So it's a learning process. There's textbooks for it. There's real life practice that you can do. You're gonna make mistakes along the way. You may, bomb an interview. You're gonna send a follow up email that might have a typo in it. And you know what?
Yeah.
We can beat ourselves up for it. These types of things are going to happen. But which again, going back to it, having that willingness to learn, knowing that you get better by practicing, by doing, and then taking some pause to reflect on the doing will help to anchor learning. And that's what's going to help to grow you over time. How do you run little experiments, regular experiments, regularly through this job search process, but also as you move into your career? And then how do you create a little bit of time to pause and reflect? Hey, what worked with how I managed the job search today? How do I want to replicate that tomorrow or in future days? What didn't go quite well in this interview that I was just in here? What might I do a little bit differently next time? Maybe it's with my prep. Maybe I'm going to do ask a different question as part of a follow up than I did this time because the one I asked here didn't seem to really generate much of a response
Mhm.
from the person I was being interviewed by. But it's a willingness to learn, to ideate, and to treat this like you're a scientist.
Mhm.
Approach it like a scientist, right? And so with a scientist, we're putting on that scientific hat. We're going to put different hypotheses out there. We're going to test the hypothesis, and then we're going to find as we go.
That's
Take
right.
that scientific method to your job search process.
Absolutely. And that's a great way of looking at it. Look at this as a journey. Look at it as a, it's fun. It's something that's an adventure. It's not something to be avoided or to be worried about. It's something to engage in, go forward with it, and just make it a journey. That's going to be a rewarding journey. And there, like Chris mentioned, we don't know what's around the next curve necessarily, but as you explore, as you find out, you learn to adapt, and you keep moving forward. So I guess that takes us to the next one. That is confidence to try. Step number two, confidence to try, even if you're not sure of it or if you're imperfect. I always tell my clients that there's ways you can always try things out to help you succeed, and you don't have to worry about failing because each time you try, you learn something from it that just sets you up for success the next time you try it. So the idea is you got to have the mindset that you're going to try even if you're not perfect. What's the next one, Chris?
Persistence after setback. It's
Mhm.
that getting back up after rejection, after failure.
Yeah,
Setbacks are guaranteed. It's part of life. It's how we respond to those setbacks that ultimately sets up, am I going to have a successful job search and am I going to have a successful career? We can think about it as, oh, it's the end of the world because this was the exact company and the exact job that I wanted. And you know what? It didn't work out. It didn't work out. But things are going to happen. The question is, how are you going to respond? Are you going to quit or do you keep going? The students who are going to land the jobs, the ones who are going to be successful in their career, aren't the ones who never got rejected. They're the ones who got rejected or faced failure but kept showing up. Having that level of persistence is just crucial. You have to be resilient. It's part of the process. It's part of the values of what are going to drive a successful career.
absolutely. So let's look at the next one. Step four, curiosity and openness. So that's the idea of being able to have the open mind, looking forward to whatever comes your way. Hey, you get hired into a position, terrific. But you know what? Maybe there's some things that happen along the way that you see other opportunities within the company that you haven't even thought about, other positions you could apply for. Again, these are things that will be present if you are open to seeing those kinds of things. So be open, be curious. Never consider yourself locked into just one place for the rest of your life because that'll get you no place, literally.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
so
Openness.
go ahead, Chris.
Openness, Tom. Absolutely. Openness. And one of the things I heard once is like, you know what? If you got a chance to get a seat on the rocket ship, who cares what seat you're sitting on? So maybe it's a step
Like it.
below the role that you were excited to get hired for. But if you're stepping into a situation with a great culture and a great leader where they pour into the cups of people and they develop them, you're
Mhm.
going to get your opportunity to shine. You're going to get your opportunity to grow. And again, if you set aside one of the things we talked about earlier that might cause you to stumble, it's like, okay, so what? You're making a little bit less money than your friend to start things off. so be it. I was just listening to somebody on a podcast last week who, was kind of fumbling through his career, started a gym, was starting to build it, and then completely fell flat on his face. His gym went under, he went bankrupt, and he was living on friends' couches. Yeah, and now he's built this empire, But again, completely lost everything. It was down to like $1,000 total of net worth
Wow.
to his name, and and rebuilt because you know what? He learned from it. He grew
Hmm.
from it, and he was open to continuing to show up, even when times were tough. And
Exactly.
that really leads it. Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
No, I was gonna say that's exactly right. When you think about it, you're gonna move forward. You got to expect that you're not gonna always succeed, and then just get back up and keep on trying. Go ahead.
That's right. And that's exactly what the fifth one here is: belief that effort leads to improvement. This is all about growth mindset. The belief that you are not fixed, that your skills, your confidence, your results can improve and will improve with effort and practice. Students who believe this take action. And we should have a disposition towards action. Sometimes, like we don't know what to do, just start taking next steps. It's okay if you don't have it fully carved out here.
Yep.
Just keep moving. It's amazing how powerful it feels when instead of just letting your thoughts run wild, you just start to take action and start to
Mhm.
chip away at it. Just keep the belief. Don't give up.
That's right.
Keep going.
And to add to that, before we move on to our next point, to add to that, make sure you're hanging around the right people, people that are
Mm.
proactive, people that are taking action, other people your age that are in the same looking working towards that first career, but, or they've already launched that career. Hang with these people, be around these types of people. This is the kind of mindset you want to adapt from them. You want to learn from them. So don't don't be hanging around with people who say you can't do this, you can't do that, or I wouldn't try this, or I wouldn't try that. That's not going to get you to where you want to be. So make it a point to hang with the right people. Let's go to this last one, number six. So accepting that the path isn't straight. Now, there's a great aha. Now, if you think about it, anyone's success in life is rarely a straight line, if ever a straight line. There's going to be detours. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be failure. We know that. We're also going to have situations where we're going to be surprised in a positive way, saying, wow, I didn't even think that was an option. But again, by having that flexibility and realizing that life is not a straight line, that your career path is not going to be a straight line, that just allows you to be prepared and to be able to recognize opportunity when it starts knocking on your door.
Yeah, I've seen that one time where it's like, what does a career look like? And instead of like a straight line or like an ups and downs, like it's kind of going in the right direction with the right type of slope or whatever. It's more like
Yeah,
it's kind of like this big
exactly.
squiggly line everywhere. Like it's just all over the place. And that's going to be part of it is learning to just embrace a little bit of that chaos and saying, hey, it's okay. What am I learning? What am I learning? Just creating that again, that opportunity to pause, to reflect, and how can I reframe this, more positively?
Chris, there's a great book out there. Dr. Catherine Brook wrote it. It's called You Majored in What? And it's all about how you take this squiggly line through life, especially when it starts after you graduate from college. What you do with it, and just expect that that is what life it will be—a squiggly line going from point A to point F, back to point D, over to point T. That's life.
It's life. That's
Yeah.
lifetime. All right. So let's get into how we actually use this framework.
Yes.
And here's some pieces that we recommend. Step
Hmm.
one, it's about getting honest about your stumbling blocks. Just
Hmm.
take 10 minutes. Okay? If you want to do it, you can pause the recording right here and come back. But write
Hmm.
down what are the thoughts or habits that are getting in the way of my career progress. No judgment. Just start to notice what are the things that it could be from, could be situations, could be things that are happening in your head. It could be habits. Any of the things that are possibly get in your way.
Hmm.
Take 10 minutes and write those down.
Yeah, and be specific. Those just don't say, "Well, I procrastinate too much." No, say maybe it's I don't apply for jobs because I'm afraid of rejection. No, name the real thing. Get true to what it is that's causing you not to get ahead.
So you like to pause, go ahead and do that now, and then come back and we'll give you step two.
Yes, please.
We're back. Step two is reframing the stumbling blocks. This is where we have to reframe it. Now we've named what the stumbling block is. Now let's reframe it. The stumbling block isn't something that defines you. It highlights an area or an opportunity for
Mm,
growth. So an
yeah.
example of this, an old thought. I'm not qualified enough to apply. New thought. I have skills to offer and I'll learn more on the job. Shift
Hmm.
doesn't erase the fear necessarily, but it gives you something to move towards. It's just a helpful reframe. One of the ways I like to think about is like, if I had to get to yes, how would I get there? Let's remove no from the equation altogether. No, I'm not going to apply. Okay, if I was to apply for this job, how would I frame it in a way that would help me feel confident to offer it and for it to be receptive to a recruiter or a hiring manager to when they review it to see my qualifications and say, hey, you know what? There's something interesting here. I do think I want to talk to this person.
Yep. Excellent. So what we just talked about there, reframe the stumbling block. Let's go to the next step. Step three, identifying your stepping stones. So what's a stepping stone? Well, if you think about a stepping stone, you're walking through the park, see a little stream there, and you'll see stones that go across the stream that you could actually step on to get to the next step, next rock to the next rock to get you to the other side. That's a great analogy for what a real stepping stone is. Same thing with your career. So what are some of the stepping stones? What are some of the strengths or attitudes that you already have that are going to help you move forward? Maybe you're naturally curious, or maybe you're really persistent, or you're a good communicator, or maybe you're just a good listener. Name those things that you can lean into, things that are going to help you get to where you want to go, one step at a time.
Yep. The last phase, step four here, use those stepping stones intentionally. So
Mm,
before you send the application, before you walk into the interview, remind yourself of your stepping stones. And this really ties well to, if anybody's familiar with Jim Clear's work in Atomic Habits, he talks a lot about identity statements. And one example he gives when people are trying to like increase their behaviors towards being a runner, instead of saying like I like running, it's I'm a runner. Okay. And there's a real powerful piece to that because when you say I am it connects it to your identity. So I'm the
mhm.
kind of person who keeps going after setback. I'm the kind of person who's willing to learn. I'm the type of person who shows up even when I'm a little scared or have a little bit of fear and comes into an interview and gives it my best. It's not wishful thinking, it's an anchoring method for being true to who you are and showing up for yourself.
Absolutely. Well said, Chris. So let's go on. Our next step here, we want to talk about next segment. Confidence comes from action. Now, Chris, I know we talked a little bit about this earlier, but let's, how do you unpack this business of confidence coming from action, not before? Can you unpack that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that once I'm confident, once I feel really secure with this, now I'm going to take action. But
Mm,
it's actually, we got that completely backwards. Confidence is built through doing. You
mm.
apply even when you're nervous. You network even when you might feel a little bit awkward. You follow up even when you're not sure what to say. And every time you do that, every time you act despite that discomfort, every time you're getting another jump shot up, you're building evidence that you can do it. This is where confidence comes from. It actually comes from taking the action, getting the reps in.
Okay. So I guess what we're saying is the advice isn't wait until you're ready, but the advice is start before you're ready and let the readiness catch up.
Nailed it. Nailed it. The job search rewards action. Mindfulness fuels the action. So that's why we start here before the resume, before the networking tips, before the interview prep.
Yeah. So mindset before method, right?
Mindset before method. Exactly.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. Moving
So
on. Go ahead,
yeah,
Chris.
let's do one last little thing here, one last
Okay.
exercise for our listeners here. So
Mm-hmm.
before we close, we want to give you something you can do this week, a quick exercise.
Yeah. So get a piece of paper or open a note on your phone, but answer these three questions.
All right. First question. What's one stumbling block I need to be most aware of right now? Take a note, write that down again if you need to. Number two, what's one stepping stone that will help me move forward? And third, what's one small action I can take this week, even if I don't feel ready? It's one of the things. Think about what that first one small action. If it's like a bigger thing you're building to that might take, a month or 3 months to build towards, that's fine. Start chunking things into what is a small action. Eat that elephant one bite at a time. One bite at a time.
Yeah. So to summarize those 3 points that Chris just mentioned. So what's the stumbling block? What do you need to be most aware of? Next, what are the stepping stone that will help you move forward? What are the stepping stones that will help you get there? And then what are one small action you can take this week, even if you don't feel ready? Let's go on. Don't overthink it. Just write what comes to mind, and that awareness alone will help you shift into something that's going to move you forward. Chris?
Absolutely. And if you want to go deeper, this is exactly the type of work that we cover in our career blueprint program. We have assessments, reflective exercises. You will experience a lot of these reflective type exercises. Again,
Mhm.
single best way to learn here: do and then reflect. And we guide you through this development program. So if you'd like to learn more, reach out to Tom or I directly. Please visit our website. Again, we have a free assessment on there as well too that can help you to gauge your career readiness.
Uh, Hey, Chris, I see the runaway coming into view here. Let's land this plane. What are the key takeaways from today?
So a couple of key ones. Mindset shapes your job search more than most people realize. Two, stumbling blocks are beliefs and habits that slow you down. Name them. Stepping stones are strengths you can lean into. Leverage them. Confidence comes from action, not before it. And awareness is the first step to growth.
Mhm.
For our next episode, we're going to get even a little bit more tactical. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about a proactive job search, why applying online isn't enough, and how to access the hidden job market where many of these jobs are filled before they're even posted.
Mhm. Yeah, it's going to be practical. It's going to be actionable. It's going to be based on what actually works. So, hope you can join us. We're excited about it. Back to you, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Career Blueprint. I'm Chris Dotson,
And I'm Tom Borg.
and this is your career by design. We'll see you next time.